Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'm not sure if I know this melody for this Sanskrit verse. I think it is the Sad Goswami might work. Bhuvi Puru Bhuvi Pun I just read. Bhuvi Puru Punyatirtha Sadanani Rishayo Vimadas Tauta Bhavat Padambujo Hrido Agni Bhit Angri Jalaha Dadhati Sakrin Manastvayi Ya Atmani Nitya Suke Napuna Upasate Purusha Sara Haravasthan. Sages free from pride live on this earth by frequenting the sacred places, sacred pilgrimage sites, and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Which kind of sages? Timothy Tucker. What kind of sages?
Free from false pride.
Free from false pride. Some teachers sometimes would do this. They would ask us a question about what we would just read, and it would keep us uh, oh, attentive. Like Arjuna, Krishna was telling Arjuna many times throughout the Bhagavad Gita, he's like, listen, here, like Arjuna's sitting right there. One might say, well, isn't it good enough? My eyes are open, but Krishna's telling Arjuna, no, here, don't miss this, don't miss this. So he's saying, sages free from pride live on the earth by frequenting the sacred pilgrimage sites and those places where the Supreme Lord displayed his pastimes. Because such devotees keep your lotus feet within their hearts, the water that washes their feet destroys all sins. Anyone who even once turns his mind towards you, the ever blissful Supreme Soul of all existent, Nitya Sukhe, he's always happy. Nityananda, Lord Nityananda, he's always happy. No longer dedicates to himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities. Quite strong verse. We'll see what we can explain. We got Miguel in the waiting room. Purport: the qualification of an aspiring sage is that he has learned about the absolute truth from standard authorities and developing a sober mind of renunciation. To develop his capacity of discriminating important from unimportant, such a person often wanders from one holy site to another, taking advantage of the great souls who frequent or reside in these places. If in the course of these travels the aspiring sage can realize the Supreme Lord's lotus feet in the core of his heart, he will be released from the illusion of false ego and from the painful bondage of lust, envy, and greed. Though he may still go to places of pilgrimage and bathe away his sins, the now purified sage has the power to sanctify others with the water that washes his feet and with the realized instructions he imparts. Such a sage is described in the Mundaka Upanishad. Vidyate hridaya grantis, chidyante sarva shamshaya, Shiyante cheshta karmani tashtman drishta parivarare. This is mirroring a verse in the first chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam, second chapter, text number 21. We did a memorize group with that chapter through Wisdom of the Sages. And so it's just the last line is a little bit different between this Mundaka Upanishad and the Bhagavatam. To the sages, and we'll cover that, the knot in the heart is pierced, vidyate. So you have this knot of ahankar. And it says it's like if you have like a really, really, really tight knot, the only thing you can do is like get a scissors in there and just cut it up. Vidyate. Vidyate is to bifurcate, to go just cut right into and sever. Chijente is to cut. Chijente is, it says all your doubts would be cut. And shiante means destroyed. All your karma is destroyed. Tasmin drishta pavarare. The heart of the knot of the heart is pierced. All misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of fruit of actions is terminated. When one sees a supreme Lord everywhere, within all superior and inferior beings. Continuing the purport. To the sages who reach the stage, the Mundaka Upanishad thus pays homage. Nama Paramarishabhya. Nama Paramarishabhya. Obeisances to the topmost sages. Obeisances to the topmost sages. Putting aside affection, company of wives, children, friends, followers, saintly Vaishnavas travel to the holy dhams where the Supreme Lord worship can be most successfully prosecuted. Such places such as Vrindavan, Mayapur, and Jagannath Puri, or anywhere else where the sincere devotees of the Lord congregate. There's a nice verse from the Padma Purana. Naham tishtami vaikunte yoginam hridiveshuva mad bhakta gayanti tatishtami narada. Krishna says, I don't reside in Vaikunta, the spiritual world, nor do I reside in the hearts of the yogis. I'm wherever my devotees are singing my glories. So it's probably the devotees are singing glories in Vrindavan, so in Vaikunta, so he's also there. And the yogis who are also full of loving song in their heart are also, he's also there. But he's saying basically, I'm not there where there is no love. Even those Vaishnavas who have not taken sannyas and still live at home and or in their Guza ashram, but have once tasted a drop, just a drop of the sublime pleasure of devotional life, will also have little inclination to meditate on the pleasures of materialistic family life, which robs a person of his discretion, determination, sobriety, tolerance, and peace of mind. And then it ends with a prayer by Sridhar Goswami. And I'll skip the Sanskrit because it's a bit long. I also don't know the meter for that one. My dear Lord, when I give up all sense gratification, engage incessantly upon meditating upon you, and when I take up residence in the hermitage of the saintly persons free from false pride, then I'll become fully immersed in the inundation of nectar pouring from the devotees' lotus mouths as they chant the sacred narrations about you. And then, O Lord Narahari, I'll never again have to take a material body. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Tadati Swa Padantikam Katanchana Smite Yasmin Dushkaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismite Viparitam Shat Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. So oftentimes when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we have to be able to discern what is descriptive and what is prescriptive. What is said in the imperative case and what is said in the non-imperative case. And so what does it mean? Descriptive versus prescriptive. For example, here you find it says, no longer dedicates to himself to serving family life at home. Oh, I should follow that. Maybe let me just no longer serve my family at home. No, this is not prescriptive. This is descriptive. And descriptive of what? If you look at the first canto, chapter 2, where this verse is given, you'll find that it's a progression of 9 stages of bhakti, or also described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, 14 stages. And the 13th stage is where you see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. And at that stage, yes, you don't have attraction to anything in this material world. Not even your own family can attract you. Of course, the devotee is performing his services and his duties nicely, like Arjuna is seeing Krishna face to face, and he's still doing the things that he should be doing in the material world. like a proper responsible person. But that person is not being controlled or pulled by the attractions of the temporary. So this is descriptive. This is not prescriptive. That this is sometimes a mistake the devotees may have, is they'll read something like this. Oh, I'll be spiritual if I become averse to my family, or I'll be spiritual if I become like there's Aniketa, someone who is doesn't care for any residence. But actually, these are describing somebody who was already there. And so, in Sanskrit, you have words like tasmat or bhavet. These are prescriptions, like you got to do this. This is what you need to do. And then you have descriptions that are words that are describing somebody who is already there, not actually the instruments of progress, but the examples of somebody who's already at that stage, who's fully immersed. Okay. You have this word nirvana and nirvana. So nirvana means disgust, and you actually don't get Krishna just by being disgusted with this world. It may be an impetus to give yourself to Krishna, but it's not disgust that advances you. You have the one example of someone who turned because of disgust is the prostitute Pingala. Pingala. She was out on the prowl on the streets doing her thing, and she just got disgusted with the whole mood of the whole thing, and just I'm out here trying to find money and pleasure from people who are themselves objects of they're themselves objects of embarrassment. There's objects of pity, and therefore I'm the most pitiful. I'm trying to actually to get money and pleasure from persons that are objects of pity. And the only person who can really satisfy me, who can actually give me real pleasure and real love, is Krishna. And so she became disgusted, but that turned her towards Krishna. But just a disgust, well, often we find people after a night binger drinking and drinking, they're disgusted. But because there's an attachment to the pleasure, they go back to it again. So disgust, sankalpa and vikalpa, attachment. I want to enjoy this. That was so nice. I enjoyed this. And vikalpa at the end. I'm so tired of this. Oh my God, why did I do that? This goes back and forth. And so it's not simply just by disgust, but rather it is the sankalpa, it is the attachment that one develops towards Krishna. You have this verse that's quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a verse from the Bhagavatam. And the question is brought up, why does Krishna do these very intimate, personal leelas? Like, why does he do the rasa leela? Why is it in the books that people are meant to read? Why doesn't he just do it in the spiritual world? Why does he come here and do these things? And the answer is anugrahaya bhaktanam. And even the devotees say it's also bhutanam. And it's mercy for not just for devotees, to all living entities. Because we are attracted to sexual stories. We're attracted to stories of great love. We're attracted to the stories of parental love, friendship. And if we don't develop attraction to Krishna, then we are guaranteed to be attracted to the temporary things of this world. This is actually the speciality of Krishna Bhakti, is that it's really the very personal, the intimate aspects of Krishna that can actually help the living entity disconnect his attachment. It says, Prabhupada describes in, I think, Adi Leela 435, he says, and this word bhavet, this is that one where he says, this is imperative, this is prescriptive. It says, become attached to Krishna's romantic pastimes, and you will lose your attachment to the temporary romantic pastimes of this world. Become attached to the parental pastimes of Krishna, and you'll lose your attachment to the parental pastimes of this world. Come attached to the friendship pastimes. And you'll lose attachment to, what does he say, the mundane wranglers of this world. So it is only by developing an attraction to Krishna that we actually lose our attraction to the things of this world. This may, for someone who's a jnani, who's very much detached, he this may be not as important, but none of us are really there. We're all very attached to the things of this world. Therefore, it's absolutely necessary that we develop attraction to Krishna. So you have this verse in the 11th canto. It's a very interesting verse. And I'll just read it for you. Samana karma cha acharnam patitam napatakam apatika guna sango nashayana patat adya. So this verse is, what is the question of falling down if you're already flat on the ground? So this is this is translation, the same activities that would degrade someone, an elevated person, does not cause further fall down for someone who has already fallen down. Indeed, one who's lying on the ground can't possibly fall further. The material association that is dictated by one's nature is considered good quality. And so in the purport by Prabhupada's disciples and by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it's described that for a sannyasi to be very attached to women, bad. But a householder to be attached to his wife, good, very good. This is actually what's going to help him progress. And it says for the kind of low class person to be attached to drinking one beer a day, good. This is a step up from like 25. This is like he's making progress. But for the brahmana to be attached to take to alcohol, very bad. So oftentimes I'll get somebody in the waiting room. We find some very strong statements, like this statement in the last part of the purport. No longer dedicates to himself to serving family life at home, which simply robs a man of his good qualities. So I got another person in the waiting room. I just keep getting the notification, but I think somebody's on it. Is one person's maya is another person's progress. One person's step up is another person's step down. For the sannyasi, he's maybe 50, 60, 70 years old, and he's ready to live a life of no material responsibilities, basically a social suicide, cutting all ties to everything, and simply engage in missionary activities. Specifically, the sannyasi's purpose in Kali Yuga is just to spread the holy name of Krishna all around the world. And that step is a step up. But for someone who was married and to lose that attachment and not be attached and not be responsible, that is a step down. That's actually Maya for him. That is not the proper application of Krishna consciousness principles. And so here it says in the purport, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, it is a fault for a person, a qualified person in household life, not to associate with his wife. That's a fault. That's a problem. And he specifically mentions this in even like in a sexual context. It's a fault to not be connected to his wife. It says association with women is a fault for a sannyasi, but association with his wife during the fertile period is good for a householder. So the householder is meant to be attached, responsible, and this attachment is actually for his progress. Rather than being attached to every other lady that he sees walking down the street, let him be attached to his wife. Or just like the drunkard, if he's having just one beer, then 25 beers, he's making progress. So here earlier in the verse, we hear that the devotee keeps the lotus feet of Krishna within their hearts. And so I'll tell you a little story from the Garga Samhita. And so And this was after the 100-year curse of Sridharma had passed. And Radharani she was feeling such turmoil, and she went to a place called Siddhashram. Siddhashram is in or near Dwarka. And so she went to go bathe there, and she went there with all her gopis. It was, so many thousands and thousands of gopis were there. And at the same time, Krishna and the Yadavas, they also decided to go, let's go to Siddhashram. This is a very special place. One who sees this place attains salokya, because gets to be born in the spiritual planet. One who resides in such a place gets sarupya, gets a form like Krishna. And there's all these different benedictions that are there. And so she decided she wanted to go bathe there. And so she was there, and she had all her gopi guards with sticks. And the men of the Yadavas, they were trying to get to the bathing place, but it was actually where Radharani was bathing. And so the gopis were blocking, and they were like powerful guards. And the men were they're wondering, who is this powerful personality? She's beating her guards are so powerful, they're beating us off. They all have this immense, massive presence. Who is this Radharani? And so then the queens start asking, who's this? Who's her? What's her name? Where does she reside? And who is her beloved? And Krishna says, her name is Radha. She resides in Vrindavan, and I am her beloved. And so Satyabhama was saying, well, actually, I'm. Everyone's talking about how pretty this Radha is, but you know what? I'm. I'm quite pretty. And then she started explaining all the different things that Krishna did, apparently due to the beauty of Satyabhama, and describing all these different things that he got the parijata tree. There's a parijata tree growing right outside my house, because of his attachment to my beauty. And in this way, she was describing so many different pastimes. And so they were wondering, oh, wow, well, how beautiful, really, how beautiful could this Radharani really, really be? And so they go there on their palanquins, and they come out, and once they get a glimpse of Srimati Radharani, all 16,108 princesses faint in waves. It's like they get up again and they faint again. They're, it's like massive waves of the most beautiful princess all fainting upon seeing the beauty of Radharani. And they're very eager to meet her, and Radharani embraces them, and they meet, and she says, we're all actually devotees here. He said, just like there's one moon, but many chakora birds, or there's one sun and there are many eyes, there's one supreme personality of God, Sri Krishna Chandra, and we, oh sisters, are but his devotees. And as a bumblebee understands the glory of a lotus flower, as a jeweler understands the glory of the jewels, as a scholar understands the glory of knowledge, as a poet understands the glory of poetry, and a person expert at tasting nectar understands the glory of nectar, held by thousands of saintly devotees. So only devotees of Krishna can understand the glories of Krishna. And so all the Rukmini, and they all worshipped Srimati Radharani. And then it was time to rest, and they were asking Krishna, well, why aren't you sleeping? Rukmini asked Krishna, why aren't you sleeping? He said, well, I can't sleep if Radharani's not asleep, and Radharani does not sleep without some hot milk. And so Rukmini arranged, and she brought some nice sweet and hot milk to Radharani, and she offered Radharani this very, very nice, very hot, sweet and hot milk. And then she went back to see Krishna. And she went to do her pada sevanam. You have the 9 processes of the devotional service, and one is serving the lotus feet of the Lord. And she went to see, and she saw that on Krishna's feet, there were blisters all over his feet. And then she said, Krishna, how did this happen? Krishna said, you offered Radharani very hot milk, and she always keeps my feet tightly bound to her heart. Therefore, my feet are blistered. So in this way, the queens lamented, and they all had a very um, high understanding of Srimati Radharani. So the devotees, they keep Krishna's lotus feet in their heart, and their feet is considered very purified. Actually, it's described that one can tolerate heat on the head, like if you're walking in a hot place, you can tolerate the burning sun on your head, but you cannot tolerate the burning, scorching ground on your feet. It's very intolerable. So similarly, Krishna, he can tolerate mistreatment of himself, but he's very intolerant to his devotees who are always at his lotus feet. When there's mistreatment of his devotees. So the verse that we mentioned, the Mundaka Upanishad, you have this section in the Bhagavatam, a very wonderful section, and it describes 14 stages of devotional service. Also, we hear the 9 stages, but you can even divide it even further to 14 stages. So this is verse 16 of the first canto, chapter 2, text 16. Shushosha shadadhanasya vasudeva kata ruchishan matsevaya vipra punya tirtha nishevanat shinvatam swakata krishna punya shravana kirtana hedantashto habdarani vadanoti suhitsatam nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki tadara justamo bhava kamo loba dareshche cheta eta anadhidvam sitam satve prasiditi evam prasana manaso bhagat bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva shamshaya shiyante chasta karmani drishta evatmanishware. So how does our devotional service start? How do we get in contact? How do we begin bhakti? Bhakti doesn't come from doing good work, good karma. It doesn't come just randomly, comes from the mercy of those who have bhakti. So satam kripa, the mercy of the devotees. So there's a few things in this verse 16. It starts with the mercy of the devotees. Then the person begins to serve the devotees, mahat seva. And then with that, when they're hanging around the devotees and doing things to the devotees, then they start to develop shraddha. This is the word faith, but this is a small f faith. This is, Prabhupada used the word interest sometimes to translate this word shraddha. It's basically a willingness to participate, a willingness to investigate. It's a reasonable faith, an intelligent. It's just a willingness to try it out and check it out. Test the waters, test this pudding, as George Harrison, the proof of the pudding is in the tasting. And then they began to Guru Pradashraya, seek the shelter of the feet of the Guru. Bhajana Spriha, then they develop eagerness to worship Krishna. And their 6th stage is called Bhakti. And then by the process of devotional service, all the anartas, you have this prefix in English, unwell, unhappy. So anarta, arta means valuable. Things that are unvaluable, that you shouldn't have in your heart, start to become eradicated. And so anarta pashamam shat, bhakti yogam adhokshaje. So then nishtha, you start to become quite steady in your so anarta pagamam, disappearance of obstacles, tata nishta. Then you become steady. That's more of a capital F faith. This is the faith of not a sentimentalist, but the realized faith of a spiritual scientist. This is someone who has practically experienced the result of their devotional connection to Krishna. Then after that is ruchi. This is Um, Now, this nishta, this is a very, very, very advanced stage. There is a wonderful book called Madhurya Kadambini, which goes through all of these stages, really, really descriptive. You can find a translation by Dina Bandhu Prabhu. You can find it on Kindle or Amazon. Very, very nice book. Not even a very big book, but it's written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. A wonderful, amazing book. Actually, here, let's just see, what does he say here about this is Ruchi. This is someone who's at the Ruchi stage. He's This is his mood when he's thinking about his previous mentality because he's so attached. He's got such a taste. Actually, when he wakes up in the morning, he doesn't wake up because, oh, this is good for me, but he actually has a real taste for chanting the Lord's holy names. And he says, oh, such am I, and my sense of taste that I lick up the bitter tasting deceit, profane gossip as if it was nectar. But I remain apathetic to hearing the names, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna. I'm so fallen. So in his humble mood, he's thinking about his previous mentality. When I start hearing about the Lord, I comfortably fall asleep. So he's saying this happens on the previous stage. They have this where's tada rajas tamo bhava. We actually become beyond rajas and tamas as we progress in devotional service. But before that, when we're engaging in japa, we may feel sleepy. Are we engaging in what to speak of, like in our mind doing japa? Definitely feel sleepy. And we might even be so bad that we're in the middle of the kirtan and we're feeling sleepy. So it's kayaki, vachaki, and manasi. Hopefully when in the middle of kirtan, we're not falling asleep. But maybe in the mental puja, we might be falling asleep, or maybe in the japa. But as one progresses, actually one is like, it's super enlivened. That the But at the chance of vulgar talk, my ears prick up and become wide awake. In this way, I've stained the assembly of the devotees. So this is the Ruchi is he's right here. He's feeling very humble, and he's thinking about his previous mentality. But they actually have a very deep taste. And then Ruchi goes even further. Ruchi goes to uh, ata asakti. This is a firm attachment. Before this, the person is very attached to devotional service. But then that begins to move towards not just a devotional service, but more that the object of devotional service, they actually develop a deep attraction to Krishna. Previously, it's the processes to connect to Krishna. They have more of their hearts more attached to the processes to connect to Krishna. But eventually, it's Krishna himself. Rati, a fondness. Prema, devotional love. This is stage 12. Then you have stage 13, Ata Darshanam. That means to see Krishna. And then 14, to experience directly, in person, Krishna's sweetness. And so when I say in the beginning of this, that this verse, Bidyate Hridayantis, this is at this 13th stage. The person, Bidyate, their false ego is cut. They don't have a false ego anymore. Their doubts are cut. They have no doubts. Oh, is Krishna the supreme personality of Godhead? No doubts. They're seeing Krishna face to face. There's nothing to understand anymore. Krishna is always ever discoverable, but there's nothing to kind of eradicate as far as obstacles in the mind to get towards Krishna. And karma is burnt up. There's what is karma boss. There's just a reflection of karma, as if the person's in the material world, they may have what is called a boss, like a shadow of karma, but they don't have any real karma. It's all completely burned up at this point. And such a person is, yeah, of course, probably very naturally has no attraction to their family life. This is, like I said, uh, descriptive. This is descriptive of a very elevated stage, not to be imitated by devotees. And therefore, what is prescriptive is that we must become attracted to Krishna. And one is here's a translation from the purport from the text 35 of that Adi Lila chapter 4. One who has not been attracted to the transcendental beauty of rasa is certainly dragged down into material attraction and thus act in material contamination and progress to the darkest regions. So if we don't have attraction, then we will automatically go to our previous attractions. This is the difficulty with Ashtanga yoga or Jnana yoga, which is the path of detachment, is that if you abandon everything, you go to a cave, then what happens if you do have some attachment? There's no process to deal with that attachment. But here the attachment is being nullified itself by Krishna, by one's attraction to Krishna, the attraction to his personal pastimes. So we'll stop here and ask if there's some questions, comments, or reflections. What will you take home with you today? Uh, Timothy Tucker. Anything to take home?
Yeah, I don't know. Hang on, let's move to a different room here. Yeah, I don't know if this is a specific thing, but I really like um hearing about the topic of, I have a family myself, that means a lot to me. I consider myself, pretty attached to them, but I don't consider it a detriment to my practice. I consider it basically what the things you were saying really kind of affirmed, my approach to my attachment to my family, and yeah, it was comforting to hear because I like to think of my attachment to my family in terms of like I love my family and I serve my family as a proxy, as a means to love and serve Krishna. So my devotion and service to my family is ultimately directed towards Krishna. But I get to express that through my family. I think that makes sense. And yeah, and the things you had to say really back that up because that can be kind of a confusing topic. You can hear, yeah. So
Nice.
I appreciated hearing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I wanted to share that. So you have Baladev Yubhushan, I think he's a 16th century saint or 17th century. He describes basically devotional service, spiritual life. It's like a multifaceted jewel. So you can look at things in different categories in so many different ways. So one of them is there are three types of devotees. You have what is called the sanishta, the parinishta, and the nirapiksha. So sanishta is someone who may just be kind of culturally connected, like say someone's born in a like a Hindu family, and they perform yagyas and they do rituals. And in that system, they eventually progress to the point where they start to understand the soul and they start to develop an attraction to divinity. So that's called a sanishta. And he's engaged in the whole ashram and varna, the whole cultural and social system. That's making him grow towards bhakti. He might actually not even have any devotion in the beginning. He might not even have an understanding of God in the beginning. But the culture itself fosters an attraction. Then you have the parinishta. Parinishta are pretty much all these devotees you find in these little chat windows here. Parinishtas are someone who they're also engaged in this whole social system. They're married, they have responsibilities, but they're intentionally like, I want to get connected to Krishna. That's the parinishta. Whereas the sanishta, he moves from jnana yoga to karma yoga to jnana yoga to ashtanga yoga and then eventually bhakti yoga. But the parinishta is like, I want Krishna. And that person is connected to the whole, cultural dynamic. He's not abandoning anything. And then you have what is the nirapiksha. A nirapiksha is someone who's like a babaji or sannyasi. They're generally the celibates. They leave everything behind. Sarvadharman pritija. But the nirapikshas are generally meant to be, these are those who are very advanced, and they actually have come to the point where they have lost all attachment, not disgust. It's nirvana, not nirvana. He said nirvana is disgust, and nirvana means liberated. So they're actually liberated from this, and they want to further their connection. Yes, we'll have somebody else please share. And after the darshan, for those who don't know, after the darshan, there is an afterglow where people also do share. So uh, let's see who else would like. We got Adi Purusha Prabhu. He is a disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And he always has some inspiration from Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Extraordinary class, superlative abundance of information, and dancing around the subject of detachment, praying to Srila Prabhupada what to say, how to say this. As Timothy said, there are different qualities of attachment, different motivations, and certainly we're not, there's this old song about, I am a rock, I am an island, and a rock feels no pain, and an island never cries, just to become dull and have no love. The Mayavad conception of like it's all useless, so just become dull. We don't eat anything good. We don't dance, sing, smile, laugh. And Prabhupada has given us a spiritual quality of eating and dancing and sleeping and loving, and a real love, not just selfish thing that they call love. Real love is to take care of people in our sphere of influence to benefit them spiritually, to bring them closer to Krishna. And Prabhupada said, I love you means I love you for you, not for what I get from you. So it's not that there's no love, it's not that there's no attachment, but it's the motivation behind it is to please the Lord. And therefore, it's not dry, it's not dull, we're not rocks. And the proper way of doing everything is available, devotional service to Krishna. Maybe speaking too long. Over, Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
I also love the point how one person's Maya can be someone's advancement. So that gives a lot of hope for me
Yeah, you know
personally.
this saying, step by step. It means to firmly on, like if you were to put your right foot down and immediately try to release the weight off of your right foot to put on your left foot, even though it's not in the proper position, you would just fall over. You have to honor where you're at, understand where you're at, and fully be situated in your actual stani stitam. Be in the place where you're supposed to be at, and fully honor and respect that place and move forward.
So who do I compare myself to see if I'm making progress? See,
And Nana Vihar, you're a very exalted devotee, so I don't know who can compare yourself to.
yeah, yeah. Maybe my yesterday self, my past self.
Oh.
Yeah. This is Nitai Chand and friends. See? They're glorifying Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful class. It's darshan time. Turn on your camera, please, if you can, if you haven't already. Let's be seen by the Lord, by each other, and stay for the afterglow if you can.
Chichivan Muralidhar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai. Singade Bhagavan Ki Jai. Govinda, Hari Krishna, Aham Bhajami, Vena Bhagavamaya Vinaya Kacham, Bhagavatam Samahitam Purasundaram. Tandarbhakoti Kamadiyam Vishesha Sola Govinda Hari Krishna Aham Bhajami Govinda Hari Krishna Aham Bhajami Govinda, Hari Krishna, Namah Bhajami, Angariyasya Sagalam, Vimanti, Yantiva, Vikalanti, Viyanti, Sadhu, Nana, Raja, Govinda, Hari Krishna, Govinda, Hari Krishna, Namah Bhajami, Govinda, Hari Krishna, Namah Bhajami, Govinda, Hari Krishna, Namah Bhajami, Govinda, Hari Krishna, Govinda, Hari Krishna. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain true open. Bow down to his lotus feet and lay all in our by his grace, when he crossed the ocean with zero suffering and obtained the mercy of Krishna. My own mission shall my heart is purified by the words and the name of his lotus flower. Attachment to his lotus feet is a perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He moves my Lord, Lord of the earth. From him ecstatic flame emanates, and by his ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy. Friend of the Lord Master, the peace. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us today of our good food, of three worlds. We take shelter from this kingdom.
Thank you, Jani Tai Prabhu. Okay, Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow, dear devotees. Thank you for being here. I was listening to a class by our founder, Acharya, His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, on faith. Srila Prabhupada was describing what faith is. And he was making this point that faith is not something blind. Faith is like Nityananda Chandra Prabhu mentioned, is very practical. And what is it that we practice? What is it? It's devotional service or Krishna consciousness. So practice is part of our faith. And Srila Prabhupada says faith means uh, when one has full conviction that just by practice and devotional service, everything else will be completed, Srila Prabhupada says, or accomplished or taken care of. So Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, you spoke in line with Srila Prabhupada, and it was very refreshing to hear that. Thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak? I see Mathuranath Prabhu raising his hand.
Haribol Nityananda Chandra, thank you for the enlivening class. My question is to develop more attachment for Krishna. Obviously, we become more attached the more we think of something, the more we meditate on it, the more we desire it. So, I'm heard many times we should hear about Krishna every day. We should hear his pastimes, his Leela, daily. This increases our attachment, increases our desire to be with him. How else can we and serve, of course, rendering service to somebody that creates attachment. The mother serves the child. They become attached to the child through that service. How else can we develop attachment to Krishna and to going back to Goloka Vrindavan and serving in some capacity?
Thank you. Thank you. So in chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna starts off with the most elevated, just always have your heart on me, constantly 24/7. If you read this in Madhura Kadambini, it talks about the different stages. And it says at the stage of Nishta, the devotee is unable to detect when his mind withdraws from the Lord. And he has to use his like deliberate effort to get his mind on the Lord. And he doesn't, and the tricky mind somehow goes away from the Lord. But the stage of asakti, that he actually, his mind's attached to the Lord, and it's only once in a while that he'll think about something in a disconnected way from Krishna. So in this chapter 12, Krishna says, always have your heart on me. And they're like, Krishna, you don't understand. My heart's all over the place. My heart's for this, a commercial pops up and then my heart's there. Like, I want that. And then he says, my buddhim niveshaya. Well, he says, my eva mana adashva. Always have your heart upon me. And then he says, okay, then use your intelligence. With your intelligence, grab your heart, put it on me. My buddhim niveshaya. And this way we'll be together. And you say, well, Krishna, have you looked at my intelligence? It's full of all kinds of nonsense. And then he says, "Achachicham samada tum not sakshnosina maistiram." If you can't keep with your intelligence, keep your heart steady upon me, then abhyasa yaganetato. You just keep on practicing that. Constantly practice to keep your mind upon me. And that's why we do japa. What are we doing? We're trying to keep our mind on Krishna's first perceivable form is nam, is name. As from name comes everything else expands out of that. So we're trying to keep our mind, our heart, our body, our senses on Krishna. And so then the next verse, Krishna says, well, and he says in this verse, he says, as you said, if you develop if you hear about a person, you develop desire. And so that's what Krishna says there in that verse. He says, in this way, you'll develop a desire for me. Amam icha tum. You develop a desire for me. And the thing about the mind is the mind has that two functions, the sankalpa and vikalpa. It runs away from things that it's disgusted from, and it runs towards things it has a desire for. And so Krishna says, in this way, this constant practice, you'll develop desire for me. And you say, well, Krishna, do you understand? I have no practice. I can't, I have nothing. I'm not the steady person. I can't even practice. And he says, um, Abhyase pi samartosi mat karma paramo bhava. Well, if you can't practice using your intelligence to put your mind upon me constantly, just keep on practicing that, then just purify your senses by engaging in your service for me. Just do some mad artam apikaramani kartumat kurvan siddhim avapsasi. Just do service, do work for me. You may work without your heart and intelligence on me completely, but by that work, your intelligence will become purified. And when the intelligence can be purified, then you can put your heart upon me more constantly. And so the bottom stage is just the kind of physical service with a little bit of mind and heart and intelligence. And then the second stage is, okay, you're engaging your body, but you're also trying with your intelligence, trying to put your heart on Krishna. And then the last stage is you're just the heart is on Krishna, and you're just keeping it there. So Prabhupada has given us, it described the 9 processes of devotional service, how to keep ourselves busy all day long. And so we have certain parts where we're engaging our intelligence, or certain parts we're engaging our physicality, serving, cooking, cleaning. There's certain parts we're trying to engage our mind, our hearts. And this way we're kind of a wholesome, whole rounded kind of way to fully engage ourselves. And in this way, Krishna is attractive. So we will get ichatum. We'll start to like him. And if we start to like him, then our mind becomes our friend.
Thank you. One thing as you're speaking about this, I'm just thinking as well, the importance of understanding Krishna loves us. And because a lot of time there's things that happen to us that are meant to wake us up. Oh, it's, why do I need and a great question is, why do I need this right now? What's happening to me? Why do I need this? Instead of, why is this happening? Why would Krishna do such a thing? And I've seen devotees actually come to a place of hating Krishna because they don't understand, they're not accepting some hard things that are happening, and they're not waking up from it. They're not going through transformation. So I'm just contemplating on that as well. Maybe you have something else to say about that. Like, really accepting everything that is happening is Krishna's love. It's he's not mean. His creation is alive. It's not mean. It's a loving creation.
Thank you. Yes, and Krishna's he's curating our own karma. He's taking what is already in stock and placing in front of us in such a way that it's enlightening and enlivening. So it's not really in a sense that Krishna's, why do you do this to me? It was already coming. He just presented, like, I could, throw butter at you, flour at you, water at you, and sugar, or I could give you a cake. And so Krishna's giving us what is already coming, but in a nice, beautiful way. And that way we actually become enlightened, enlivened. Whereas without Krishna, we're just getting those things, but it doesn't really, it might keep us in bounds in a certain degree. And we might, learn a little bit of lessons, but it doesn't lead into enlightenment unless we're actually taking shelter of Krishna. So we just get karma, and sometimes we learn some lessons, but it doesn't actually bring us deeper and deeper. But the devotee, he doesn't just get karma, he gets a curated experience where the devotee's own karma is given to him in such a way. It is like the cake instead of just flour, butter, and sugar thrown in our face.
I like it.
Cool
Nice
question.
analogy. Adipusha Prabhu.
Yeah, cool question and a profound answer. And the yoga system, hi Ram, Hare Krishna. The yoga system is yama and niyama. things to do and things not to do. He gave us a wonderful description of all the things that will help us to reawaken our love for Krishna. If you want to start a fire, you have to light the match, but also you have to avoid putting water on it. So there's the niyama. And the verse is talking a little bit about how an inappropriate attachment to family becomes an impediment. But that doesn't mean that there isn't appropriate attachment. There's different ways we can be inappropriately attached. First of all, because of our own selfish desire for enjoying the family, or just facilitating the family's sense gratification. So these are so that they, so they'll be happy materially. So these two things can lead us away from real love and real benefit for those in our care. And everybody's contributing fantastic answers. And then one thing is like we reawaken our dormant love for Krishna. It's not like we're adding on something like a coat of paint. It's already there. And if we remove the covering, remove the inappropriate attachment, our natural attachment for Krishna who loves us, like Mathura Prabhu was saying, Krishna loves us, then we'll begin to perceive Krishna's love and we'll begin to naturally reciprocate with that. Anyway, just a small contribution. All glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
Hare
have
Krishna.
Min and then also Bhima. Min, you want to?
The heavy hitters.
Thank you so much for the class. It was really, really nice. In your response to Mathura Das's question, you said that everything is in the holy name. So I'd like to ask a question in regards to our japa. When we sit down to chant, intellectual, we hear this, right? The everything is in holy name, that Krishna is absolute, his name, his activities, his form. It's not different from one another. When we sit down to chant, it's kind of difficult for me to sort of somehow bring that to the experience of japa, where I would love to encounter that in his names, but I'm not sure if I know how to do it or if there's a way to do it. What do you suggest that when we chant, that we have some inkling of this absoluteness of Krishna, and that and the possibility of us encountering him?
So if we haven't caught the fever, then we find someone who has it. Like those who attend like Sachinanda Swami's Holy Name Immersion, or you can read one of his books. He has wonderful books about chanting japa and the holy name. That it's Krishna consciousness is caught as much as it's taught. So we find those who have this attachment and then experience, and through their association, we can actually become infected with their attachment and experience. So it does take a lot. It takes help. A village. It takes. And we have Bhima, Mr. Ed.
Haribol? Yeah, Mr. Ed. That's a good one, man. Jeez, I didn't know that you went back that far. Can I be heard, by the way?
I think you're too far from your phone.
Oh, hold on. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. That was a good one, Mr. Ed. That's a blast from the past. I'm going to give an example. It's going to be embarrassing for me as a devotee. Maybe take me down a notch where everybody should know where I come from. Material desire. The reason why we don't, as far as I can tell, from my own personal experience, that I went from a very, very enthusiastic bhakta, living in a van, traveling on the road, giving everything, spending weekends in jail, so to speak. We weren't doing anything illegal. We were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, type of thing. But anyways, we gave our lives like on a battlefield to build New Vrindavan back in the day. And there was also a lot of nonsense going on, but just for us little simple brahmachari, like like Adi Parush and stuff like that. We were just simple guys, simple little soldiers in Krishna's army. We were on a Lakshmi rescue mission, buying land and making a place of pilgrimage in the middle of the West Virginia mountains. I went from that to, coming to a stage of sort of exhaustion and doubt, not about the philosophy itself because it's impenetrable. You can't shake the truth, but our own involvement, like what can I give to Krishna? And am I really here just for Krishna, or am I here for some kind of spiritual excellence? Am I here for some kind of spiritual fame or whatever it is? But thing is, it's a desire. And really, as far as my personal experience goes, and of course it says it in the scripture, that's the funny part, when it happens to us, there's always some story, some leela, some philosophy, some acharya it happened to before us. And, you get to a point of, material exhaustion that you have this sense of humor that's humorous, but at the same time, it's this kinshana. You're not hanging on anymore. You do your duty, but you're just tired, and because you actually are seeing the world for what it is, sort of like you see, like at my age, 63, you start to see that you're at the other end of that diorama. You're not the baby, you're not the young man, you're at that other end. Your shoulders are sloping, and the gravity plays a big role in your day. You're not just on your toes and dancing. Now, obviously, you see someone like Chandramali Maharaj, even Adi, always they're on their toes. They're happy. They're skipping. These are older devotees by 10 more years, 15 years than I am, and they're still just moving. That enthusiasm to be filled with God. Oh, there goes a horse in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hold on, I might break it up. So there is, of course, the by the devotees who are enthusiastic. They show us that there is happiness, Ananda Bayo Vishat, that happiness, that pleasure that we're seeking is with Krishna, with Krishna consciousness. And we have to understand that when we can't, as Min mentioned, japa, because it all begins there. How do I just wrestle my mind? How do I beat my mind, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, with a broomstick every morning and at night with a shoe, right? And that's the holy name. That broomstick and that shoe is the holy name, Hare Krishna. We're not like, Hare Krishna, oh Krishna, I know you, I love you, you're so pretty, you're on the altar, you got flowers. For some of us, it's not so easy. And so we have to beat Krishna, or we have to pray to Krishna. Show me, like Markandeya Rishi, show me the material world. So I went from an enthusiastic bhakta to having, like, just saying, you know what, I'm just going to go take care of my desires. And when I made that decision, we used to call it back in the day, I haven't heard this word in a long time, especially not used in class, the word bloop, bloop, bloop. We fall back. We go into that material ocean, bloop. And what... Am I still there?
Yeah, I think there's someone that needs to be muted. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I went from someone who, with, around super fired up devotees, to being alone and just saying, welcome, Maya, back into my life. And I promptly, and remember, I had 10 years, best devotees in the world. Maharaj was, close. He kind of kept me like a wounded animal, close by, and lots of wonderful devotees, all of them as enthusiastic as Adi Purush, so to speak. But I abandoned that. I went straight after my material desires. I was a young man, very young, 20, 28, 29. And it was after 10 years of like celibacy and staring at the ground and giving everything I got, which, of course, you're remembering Krishna not through my heart or love of Krishna. I remember never praying, never chanting, Krishna, let me know you, like George Harrison. It was more like, Krishna, let me defeat the other devotees on this Sankirtan Jagya so I can be known as the largest collector, blah, blah, blah. It's just like even my desires in devotional service were material. That being said, all of a sudden, the veil fell for 23 years. For 20 years, the veil fell. I did not remember a thing. It was like the trauma of a Vietnam vet or a child that had been abused, it was buried. It was buried. And I didn't see another devotee. Krishna, because I said to Krishna, show me the material world. I was a writing major, and I was like, how am I ever going to write if I'm just, reading the same books all the time and experiencing the same things and being dogmatic and, all these doubts that Maya presents to you. And when you're like that, and all of a sudden, like your heart, mind, soul, and memory, you start to understand the power of Maya. And when I came out of the movement, one of the first devotee that I saw after 20 years was Radhanath Maharaj. And
You cut out here.
it was literally, I'm okay. Got a frog in my throat. It was like waking up. It was waking up. It was like all of them, I was out of it. I tell you, I have not come to an unending consciousness by virtue of beauty of Krishna or the wonder of the devotees. I came to Krishna consciousness by understanding the power of Maya. That there is truly, we are living in the lap of a witch called Maya, and she's pretty like Putana, and she's beautiful, and she's vicious, and she's like Kali. And because I went decades.
Oh, is he still here? Bhima? Bhima, I can't hear you. I can see you now, but I can't hear you. Now I hear you.
Here's what I said. I don't mean to ramble on, but basically we talk about we do the things to try to remember Krishna, and for some of us when we're young and passionate in the mode of passion and coming out of ignorance, so to speak, which is a volition, to ignore. Ignorance means you're just ignoring the truth that's all around you. When you come out of that, so to speak.
Oh. Now you're back.
Bhima. Bhima Prabhu is so
Am I okay?
sincere. Yeah.
You're back. We can hear you now. I don't see you, but I can hear you.
All right. I'm sorry. I just had to place the phone where I wasn't moving around. Anyways, long story short is this: we see all the positive things as Adi said, Nish Krishna, like the things you do and the things that you don't do. Well, the one things that we have to do is that we have to pay attention to the fact that when our mind deviates, the reason why we don't remember Krishna is because we're looking at Maya. Okay. And Krishna doesn't handle any of that. That's why we have the devotees. Krishna is not like if you have a lover.
He's out in the country, guys.
Am I back in again?
Now you're back.
Okay, I got to finish this up because I just keep going in and out. Um, Anyways, the thing is that we have to be, as Prabhupada said, sufficiently afraid of Maya. And the trouble is, in the Western world, things are so easy and so good. In India, especially back in the day, you could just go down to the Ghat and watch them burn bodies. People were in the streets dying. Children were begging. People have leprosy. You're constantly reminded of who Maya is, of the material world, of that fag end of that diorama. You're constantly reminded of that. And so I hate to say this, but we should, at Radhanath Maharaj, when he went to India, he sat by these ghats and watched these bodies burning for hours on end, day after day, where all that was left were certain bones that didn't burn. And so what had happened is he sort of like inoculated himself against Maya. He took a dose of what Maya has to offer, and he never looked back. And Prabhupada, you see, he went through a world. He had a family. He had aspirations to fulfill his guru's mission. But what really knocked him was Krishna had to take away his business, and the family didn't want to go with him, didn't want to encourage him. His wife, who's a devotee, but didn't want to, go where Prabhupada was going. And the thing is that we have to understand that the reason why we're not enthusiastic about Krishna is because we're enthusiastic about Maya. So if we have a trouble chanting, pay attention to where your mind is going and understand that you are attached to the thing that is coming into your mind and that you're thinking about. And of course, on a more positive note, the only way to escape Maya is to surround yourself with devotees. Go to class every morning like this. This is my panacea for all that ails me, is this morning class. But you got to be careful. We all have to be careful. We don't know when Maya is going to drop that veil over us. She's always trying to drop a veil. At first, she'll drop a veil that's you can see through, like you can still see the devotees, you can still see the philosophy, but the philosophy and the devotees and the enthusiasm and the nishta and the ruchi is not there anymore. You lose taste. Krishna does that too. He'll take away your taste. Which direction are you going? Are you going to go after Maya because you no longer have a taste? It's called dark night of the soul, where God actually removes himself from your heart, so to speak, the feeling of him in your heart, and you're left with nothing. So what's your choice? Are you going to go now run to Maya, or are you going to just remember Krishna despite the fact that he has separated himself, Viparalamba, he has separated himself from your life. You no longer feel his sweetness. You no longer hear the philosophy. So you always have to be objective of yourself. You have to be true to yourself. You have to say, where am I now? Despite the fact that I'm doing something, where am I now? Watch out for criticism. Why is criticism so bad? Criticism isn't something you just do because you're mad. Criticism is Maya's way of convincing you not to go towards Krishna and the devotees. That's her way of giving you some doubt and to poison the devotional creeper, to choke it off. So to sum it up, basically, we have to put ourselves in a foxhole at all time. We have to pay attention to the ghat, the burning ghat that's all around us. Very easy when you're young and you have a young family, and there's nothing wrong with enjoying their presence. And Krishna says, from water to your child, your beautiful newborn child, I'm that. I'm there. I'm the life. All this stuff, yes, this is the way you detach yourself. You might find yourself without water. You might find yourself health sick. You might find your family in trouble, the family unit in trouble. You might find all these things, but you have to understand that's the nature of Maya. And why is that? It's because we're supposed to learn what world we're in right now. And with that nishkinshana that's developed, that detachment, that understanding that I ain't got nothing, I don't have nothing but Krishna, that's how we'll keep our mind on Krishna. Because if you don't have anything, if you know that you really don't have anything in this world, then you're naturally going to reach out towards Krishna. So I'm sorry for rambling on, but I
Amazing.
just wanted to present the other side, that you you have to fill yourself full of nectar, but at the same time, pay damn close attention to Maya. Hare Krishna.
So for those who don't know, the diorama, what he's talking about is
That's
the
Bhima in the center there. You see?
in the center. So he's saying you start to see yourself more on the other end of it. This is okay. Take us home, Ananda Bihari.
Thank you very much, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Wonderful class, wonderful discussion. Very sobering contribution by Bhima Prabhu about burning guts that is all around us. Thank you very much. I was going to say something profound. Oh, yeah, here it is. In regards to Maturnath Prabhu's question, how to be attached to Krishna, I was going to suggest to Maturnath Prabhu to try things other than Krishna, to try things that are less than Krishna, and you'll see how unfulfilling they are. And you'll come right back. Maturnath Prabhu. Stephanie has given us thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, we love you. We need you. Bhima, go ahead.
There he is, the man, the myth, Ram. Look at, he's staring at the screen. He's actually contemplating, who is this fool that's in the he doesn't look like dad, all shiny and pure. Um, I would just like to tell you that at the end of 20 years, I started chanting because things started going wrong in all my success, like I had business and stuff, but all of a sudden Krishna just like started ripping, and I knew it was him. Started just ripping things out of my life. I knew it was him because the only thing I had, I was like Kamsa. The only thing I had, the only relationship I had with Krishna was fear that he was going to come and take all I worked for 20 years. Because I knew that that's what he did. Radhanath Maharaj told me that. When I first met Radhanath, I was at Bhakta, I was in his Vrindavan, a van that was lacquered with pictures of Krishna, like the Sistine Chapel, on the roof, on the side. It was just like, it was a van you got into and you just saw Krishna everywhere, right? A couple of bins that he slept on and a bookshelf, that was it. But on the ceiling was a picture of Krishna the butter thief. And that beautiful picture with the curly locks, and he's like got his finger up to his mouth and you can see the busted pot of butter. And I said, "Who's this?" And he goes, "That's Damodar." And I say, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, one who's bound around the waist." And I go, "God bound around the waist?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Why?" And he goes, "See the butter busted?" He goes, "He's a thief. He's gonna, he steals the butter from the, he didn't tell me about the pastime because I was a bhakta and, you don't believe any of that stuff then. But he's a thief." And I said, "A thief?" And he goes, "Yeah, and you better be careful because Krishna's going to steal your heart and he's going to steal your life. He's a thief. He's going to steal from you all those things that have you that's in the way of you remembering him." And from then on out, believe it or not, I was fearful of what Krishna would take from me, And in the end, at the 20 years of of having no excuse except for desire of Maya, and then Maya showing me her true face, right? And then literally on my knees in the bathroom chanting Hare Krishna in a bathroom of a business that I was working at, saying, "I can't do this anymore." And all of a sudden I heard, "Start chanting again." And when I started, then I started chanting on my way to work. I just started like, "I can't take this anymore. I don't want to live in this world anymore. There's no meaning to this world anymore. This world is false. Everything's falling apart. You can't depend on anything. And that's when I started chanting again sincerely. And that's when Radhanath Maharaj came back into my life and the devotees came back into my life. So whenever you find yourself not being able to remember Krishna, be brave enough to say, send a calamity my way, and trust me, you'll start remembering Krishna as soon as that calamity kicks you in the ass. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Okay,
I would
Dana.
say one very last thing. The other thing we can do is Krishna help me. Every step of the way, Krishna show me, help me, show me how I can come closer. I need you. Just always begging Krishna for help. Haribo.
Thank you, Mathurnath Prabhu. Krishna loves us. Krishna help me. Very profound mantras from Mathurnath Prabhu today. Thank you, Prabhu, for that. Okay, Dana Krishna's Radharani, please recite the mantra to complete the offering for today. Dana Krishna's Radharani, please.
Haribo, how wonderful is Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, I love you guys so much. So much. Big hugs. Thank you. Haribo.